What's up, everyone? What's up with y'all? Man, the good brother FD Signifier finally put out the video. And Sarge Willie Pete beat me to the punch. Man, yep, that's what happened. So, I'm not gonna, keep you guys waiting too long, too much. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Wow. Okay, so let's get into it. First, we have to say the brother is well spoken. He's intelligent. He tried to head us off at certain points that he knew the Black Manosphere would make. He actually addressed divestors and that kind of movement. He did actually a pretty good job. Um, he could have been more scathing, I think. I have a real issue with the fact that he skimmed over black women dancing on Kevin Samuels' grave, if we're going to be honest. And he kind of, not even kind of, he pretty much gave them an excuse for dancing on Kevin Samuels' grave. He mentions the Average at Best video, pretty much only saying Kevin Samuels embarrassed her. No, FD, she embarrassed herself. No, FD. If you saw the video we saw, FD, you saw Kevin trying. The lady still ain't in no relationship. That was what, 2 years, almost going on 2 years now? A year and a half ago? Even most recently, she popped up again on our social media feed to show how ridiculous this is. FD, you saw what we saw. You saw night after night materialistic, consumerist, Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand inspired, Disney inspired with their insane, right, childish worldview in view of intimacy and relationships. You saw video after video after video of those type of women, and all you could say is that Kevin embarrassed the Average at Best lady, right? In a weird way, you borderline infantilized those women. And that's a theme oftentimes on the left when it comes to, and I'm going to make a serious effort at addressing this, but black men hit first. Black men started it all. It started with Tommy Sotomayor, and even the brother on your own video said he'd been hearing this his whole life. Well, I'm going to go find me a white man and da, 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 da. And now when white people hear it, they're like, oh my God, black women really sound like that? Yes, black women really sound like that. You have white comedians. Listen, FD, you have white comedians making fun of the black community by talking about how black women that he's dated talk about how black men ain't ish and how she's so happy to be with him and blah, blah, blah. That's not the first white man that said that. You got regular chubby white dudes a few years ago sitting in their room telling black women, stop talking to me like I'm a god. I'm just a regular, if you only knew how much of a mess up I am, I'm just a regular white dude. You know? And on another note, this is not just about intimacy in sex, in rejection, in relationships. You did a really good job, I'll admit. You didn't go far enough, but that wasn't the primary focus of your video, I get it. The contempt that black women have for working class black men. If you want to know why Kevin did the Average at Best, much of that project was to show that contempt. And what you saw is if he debated a woman good enough, if he backed her into a corner good enough, she would say, who wants to be with Average anyway? Average ill. And even in their Their notion of average was still insane because their notion of average was $70,000, $80,000 a year, man. And even that they were sneering at. Even that they were disgusted by. And if you're looking at an $80,000 a year man, you're looking at a man that makes pretty much double. You're watching as black women show you how essentially American and westernized they are. The days of everyone speaking as if black women are on some moral high ground above everyone else is over. That's what Kevin exposed, FD. Night after night. Once again, their hyper materialism, their hyper consumerism, their contempt for middle class and working class black men. Did you not see the video where Kevin spoke to black men and your average black man didn't want to let ADOS women go or FBA women go? At the end of the video, he had to lecture those brothers afterward and be like, you deserve better. Because with all the complaints, black men still wanted black women, specifically ADOS and FBA black women. That's the environment that this entire society has been pretending doesn't exist. And I appreciate you acknowledging how the society went after Cube, Ice Cube, when he made the when he kind of was making this, going on this tour, and no, it was not just to appeal to the Republican Party. He sent overture, he opened his hand to the Democrats also. But the Democrats, and this is what you didn't mention, or maybe you did and I missed it, possible, but from what I saw, you didn't mention, the Democrats pretty much already had a deal with BLM. The Democrats already, and that's why Alicia Garza, you could see the look on her face when she spoke to Roland Martin and Ice Cube, the contempt she had on her face for Cube, for black men. That wasn't just for Ice Cube, that was for black men. And you saw what we saw, FD. And yes, you're right, we were right about BLM. And it's not just because, you know, a broken clock is right at least once or twice a day. No. We saw that mission statement. We saw the internal memos. FD, you have to be honest, bruh. It's not just black men being mad about who didn't want them in middle school and high school, who rejected them, a horrible breakup. That's not only what this is. You know, once again, y'all like, share, and subscribe. Hit that super chat. That's not only what this is. BLM showed you the way they spoke about nuclear family or lack thereof, the way they spoke about black men or lack thereof. FD, call a thing a thing. They used the death in the blood of black men and boys like me, like you, like your two sons, to push a black LGBTQ agenda. You saw what we saw, FD. You may have gotten to it later than us, but you eventually saw what we saw. So the issue I have with you here is that you saw what we saw. You know what they were doing. It took everybody else. Everybody was looking at the Black Manosphere and black men and black straight men like we were crazy. It took everybody seeing, oh man, they blowing money on $6 million houses, and this is what they're doing with the money, of course. Why do y'all think the left don't have the black community pegged? They got the black community pegged. And I'll pause right here to give Sergeant Willie Pete a shout out. Once again, he got there before I did. He made this video before I did. But let's address something. Sergeant Willie Pete said one thing in his review that I 100% agree with. Your average brother, yeah, we might have conservative views. And your definition of conservative, I would tend to agree with. When it comes to the black community, it's different. Black people's, for the most part, lowercase c definition of conservative is different than white people's. I would agree with you on that. Right? But your average black dude ain't really on some racist white Republican stuff, as Sergeant Willie Pete said. But what room does your straight black man have really on the left? Think about that, FD. Because once again, you see what we see. We claiming gay agenda, everybody looking at us like we're some weird conspiracy theorists. And when we say gay agenda, we don't mean, no, they just want to have a more open world. LGBTQ people are trying not to get beat up in the streets. Most black straight men don't care about what LGBTQ black people do with their members. And you know we don't care. You know we all got a LGBTQ cousin that we all still cool with. We don't care. You know that, FD. When we say gay agenda, we mean it the way we say it. The white left weaponizing black LGBTQ people and the few of them that did get bullied or got some type of situation, and weaponizing them against straight black men. So using black women and black LGBTQ, weaponizing them to essentially tell straight black men, shut the hell up and go in the corner. Support our agenda with money, time, and effort, right? And you shut up and go back in the corner and do our bidding. What space is there on the left for straight black men in that type of situation? You admitted that we were right about BLM. You think we wrong about this LGBTQ thing too? You think we're wrong about that? Right? How are you going to get an increasingly disaffected black men to vote left? How? Disillusioned black men. Y'all are losing men in general on the left. You think it's all because, oh, these men are sexist, misogynist pigs who are mad that black women and LGBTQ and women are doing so much better and they're making money and they're educated. They're just sexist. You think that's it? That we're some sexist, misogynist pigs? That's why we're not going along with the left? As Sergeant Willie Pete said, we see the racists on the right, but people act like the left don't got racists too. They just move different. They will weaponize your women against you and try to use shaming tactics against you. Don't you see this new progressive world we're trying to paint? Why are you fighting against it? Right? So Sarge Willie Pete was right about that. And FD, you know he was right about that. You tried to preempt all of this by acknowledging your heterosexuality. You and your wife have a very traditional relationship in marriage, right? As long as you, from what you can see right now, you're raising two, straight cisgender boys, excuse me. FD sees what we see, y'all. The brother's not dumb. He sees what we see. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. I will be reading super chats out loud. I need to get better at that. So yeah, I will be reading them out loud. Right? You see what we see, brother. And in that, you have to convince the boys and the young men. FDU and T Noir and Nappy Headed Ahoba and Julesy and Kim from Fort Harriet, who is slowly being radicalized. She keep on claiming she only see herself with a black man, or mainly see with herself with a black man. And I don't actually doubt her. I don't doubt her. But you can see from her rhetoric, shout out to all the black men that hear Kim sound like that and then still date her. Wow. Whoa, okay. I don't know what you think you're going to get over there. Right? But yeah, to Nappy Headed Hoba, Julesy, Kim from Fort Harriet, T Noir, Fab Socialism, shout out to all of you. Have fun. And not when I say the boys and the young men, I'm talking about heterosexual, straight, cisgender, black young boys and men under the age of 25. have fun trying to convince them that the default is their fault. Even if they themselves didn't do anything wrong, in a weird way, they're paying for the sins of their fathers and forefathers. Because the first thing, I watched your comment section, your live chat, when your video was airing. And what did black women default to? What do they always default to? Black men started it. Black men started it first. Do you know how much a woman or a person could get away with by keep on claiming that the other person started it first? This started with Tommy Sotomayor. Once again, the brother on your own video said he was hearing this his whole life. He looked like he's at least in his late 30s. Mid to late 30s. Let's say he's in his early 40s. The brother said he'd been hearing it his whole life. We have people in our space who are in the mid and early 60s who've been hearing it their whole life. So no, this didn't start with Tommy Sotomayor. Once again, going to what the brother said. Oh, white people saying, oh, black women sound like that? Because for the longest, and you acknowledge this, FD, for the longest, all we had was our society investigating black men and their supposed sexism and misogyny, right? And homophobia and transphobia, and black women got to hide under they're the most progressive group in America. And then you play that Lexus Exodus video where she's talking about black men and dookie stains on the back of their boxer briefs or boxers or whatever. And it was surprise. You realize that most black men are not hunting for divester and swirler and black women level up content? Mr. Z low-key is, but most black men are not hunting for that, and we're coming across it on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, right? We're coming across this. So it was interesting to me that you said you didn't see this content like this before. It's when you went to go look for it, because we kept on telling you about this, that you found it. Where on the internet were you? Because if you were anywhere around any black anything on the internet, you saw it. And as you said, this was way more than your average, excuse my language, y'all, niggas ain't shit. But FD, that's how it starts. That's how it starts. Why do you think your average sister is not a stone's throw away from the divester, level up, swirler language? Black women have always reserved the right to go get them and find them a white man. And when we say white man, we mean all non-black men. And you have a few of them advocating for, you know, same-sex relationships because their contempt for black men is that great. You played the video where a sister was saying, and I don't even know why I'm calling this woman a sister. She gets turned on, and we've spoken about that in this space. She gets sexually turned on by seeing police harass and abuse black men. You're about a couple years late on that one. So my question is, if you frequenting black spaces online, this is not, and what continuously happens, let me actually address this also, is we continuously paint the divestment group as like some fringe, small group that's responding to the Black Manosphere. Women like this, just like you spoke about Manosphere 1.0 and Manosphere 2.0, women like this been here. You never heard of Cola Booth? Do you know how long Cynthia G been in this space? Chrissy been in this space? Yeah, they weren't exactly here for 1.0, but do you know how many years they've been in this space? Been around here, hovering around. Statue S1, we got people that's been here for a decade. That's been here pretty much. You knew Sergeant Willie Pete, so you didn't know the rest of these people? If you go back to his early stuff, he mentions them. You know Tommy Sotomayor, who doesn't claim the Black Manosphere, by the way. He's mentioned a couple of these people in his older stuff. Right? So we need to stop acting like this divestment movement or group or whoever is as a response to the Black Manosphere. And they're just responding to the Black Manosphere. Nah, these people been here. They may not have gone by the title divester, but they've been here and they've been saying the same things. Right? Because Cola Booth told us, I would rather be the gum on the bottom of a white man's shoe. I mean, I would rather be the white man's whore, excuse me, than the gum on the bottom of a black man's shoe. She told us that back in what? 09? 2010, something like that? Maybe even earlier. Once again, y'all like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. So like I was saying before, the people on the left are going to have to convince the young men and boys that they got to eat this disrespect, this contempt, these insults, this straight up sexism coming from women, black women namely, because something their forefathers did wrong. Have fun and FD, you have 2 boys. Have fun trying to convince your sons. And that's assuming at least one of them doesn't come home with a non-black woman. Right? Have fun trying to convince your sons they got to eat disrespect from black women. They got to eat the insults. Right? They got to eat the sexism because of something you or their granddad or their great-granddad did wrong. Right? Some color purple understanding of black men. Have fun trying to convince boys under the age of 25, men under the age of 25, to eat that. Because we got Gen Z all over this place. And Gen Z young men are saying they're not doing it. They're not just going to smile it off and try to, charisma and swag it off and do the whole self-deprecating thing in the presence of black women. They're not doing it. So and once again, that is not even exclusive to black men. The left is going to have a real issue, and the left already acknowledged that they have a man problem. Of course you got a man problem. Every other word is a black man or a man having to be self-deprecating in the presence of women to show how progressive he is. And you think young boys and men under the age of 25 are going to just sign up for that? Do you understand they come seeking us? You said it yourself, FD. There's a lot of overlap between your subscribers and followers and kind of what we got going on over here. What you think that's about? I asked you that before. What do you think that's about? Black men specifically are tired of having to be self-deprecating and smile off and joke off black women's casual sexism. And the fact that white society got the thumb on the scales for them, which you refuse to acknowledge. You went around it. You kind of put your big toe in that pool just a smidge, and you left it alone. Call a thing, FD. White people, especially on the left, have their thumbs on the scale for black women. And that's caused many black women to think they're in their current position simply because they're more talented, they're harder working, they're more intelligent than their black male counterparts. And not because the Democrats see them as more pliable. And corporations and companies see them as cheaper labor, more pliable labor. If me and Keisha get into an argument, she ain't gonna punch me dead in my face. She's not willing to go to jail. But Tyrone will uppercut me. And when the police are dragging him out, he will still be trying to hit me. Because I insulted him and belittled him and didn't care. Once again, FD, you see what we see. And that's why I'm saying have fun trying to convince the boys and the men that they're the ones who started it. You spoke about the casual nature in which these women use black feminism to beat black men up the head with. And how they got a misreading of it a little bit. No, they don't. Because in a previous video, you even acknowledged some of Bell Hook's, air quotes, problematic ideas and statements about black men. Oops. Why we think like black women can't understand dog whistle? Black women understand dog whistle. They know a lot of these black feminists were just angry, bitter sisters who hid their sexism behind intellectualism. What you thought they didn't know? Yeah, they may not know bell hooks. There's a lot of, especially when you get under the age of 30, definitely under the age of 25, they don't know who Alice Walker is, bell hooks and whatnot. They don't know those women. They don't. But they use their talking points. They use the banner of black feminism to get at black men, to insult black men, to belittle black men. Because that was the point in the first place, FD. That was the point in the first place. A lot of your second wave black feminists, that's what they were on. They told you FD, they told you themselves. You got former Black Panther sisters that told you themselves. They were heated. They're the ones who really came up with the term, or at least popularized it. These black men are talking black and sleeping white, and we trying to go on dates, and they're over here frolicking and dancing and chilling with the white women, going on dates with the white women, while we trying to fight the white woman's father. You fast forward decades later, and the sisters are using black, mainly second wave feminist talking points against black men, and now you want to say, oh, they're misreading, use those exact words, essentially implying that they're using this out of context, they're misreading. No, they're not misreading anything. If we're going to talk about black women like they're autonomous women with agency, full-grown adults, 25 and older, 26 and older black women, then let's speak about them like that, and let's stop infantilizing them by saying they're always reacting, I didn't say responding to, reacting to how black men talk and speak. They're reacting to black men's sexism. No, when you saw that divester language, you saw what it really is. And no, I categorically reject, yes, I categorically reject the notion of this is just a response to the Black Manosphere. No, it is not. These women been sounding like this. been talking like this. And if you will remember, on that video that you played where the black woman was saying how turned on she is by seeing white cops harass black men, there were no men on that panel from my understanding. There were no white people on that panel. So she wasn't just trolling for the sake of trolling. She was saying that because that's what she really means. And a woman like that could be, and we've ran a couple of them off, that could be your professor. That could be your teacher. That could be your bank teller. That could be your attorney, your defense attorney. We had to run a couple of these women off or out of the Black Manosphere. FD, do you know that? Women that hold thoughts like this. You showed Cynthia G. You didn't mention her by name, but we all know, we know these people, we know their names, we know their talking points. We know their voices. Right? What's the cartoon with the white dude on the tricycle, Bobby's World or whatever? We know Cynthia G and her Bobby's World mom sounding voice. We know. And she was invited to Fox Soul. She was on Fox Soul, right? She was on Fox Soul. So Alicia Garza gets to go on Fox Soul with Cube and sneer at him, and looks like she want to rip his head off. Okay, that's cool. That's understandable. But Cynthia G, after advocating for aborting black male sons, gets to be on Fox Soul. Ain't nobody asks her no questions about that. Claudia Jordan, you keep on claiming to be riding with black men, and none of y'all asked her no questions about this, Claudia Jordan. I'm not even going to talk about Vivica and the rest of them because we already know what they on when it comes to black men. Lisa Ray already showed us what she on when she was talking to Trick Daddy about men and relationships and dating and whatnot. We've been knew what y'all on. But you, Claudia, you keep on claiming to be for black men, and we see y'all inviting women like Cynthia G on. Right? So thank you for letting us know. Right? So FD, that's the thing. Like I said, our society, white people, some black men got their thumb on the scales for black women because they think they're doing something to levy or even the playing field. And guess what? Those same women that are rising, not because they're not working hard or keeping their head down and going to school and whatnot, but also because they're getting a leg or two up, those same women are exiting those situations and then having contempt for the same men that advocate for some of these programs for them. Go figure. For the same working class men like their fathers who helped to pay for college, who sent them an extra $100, but she blew through it when she was away. Those same women turn around and tell their brothers they're not good enough. The miseducation of a Negro, right? This man is going to move to the car and he's just being generally annoying, right? Yep, and here it goes. Excuse me, y'all. Yep, y'all got to hear some noise because this guy wants to use the hand blower and get as close to my car as humanly possible. Right? But yeah, FD. But this is not strictly about intimacy. Like I said, these women end up working in corporate America. You got Channing Dungey working at ABC. She's the one who advocated for Roseanne to come back on air. Right? You have women like that getting into position. Did you not see the women when Goldman Sachs presented that $10 billion for black women over the next decade or so? Did you not see the interview with the Goldman Sachs head and the black women? Did you not see them? We know what we're talking about over here, FD. And also, FD try to be funny and say, you know what? I'm okay with debating y'all. Put 20,000 on the table. I'm not gonna pay $20,000 to watch Green Gorilla or Dr. T Hassan take your head off, because this will not be what you saw with Tate when you said what's the dude's name took his head off. And I've watched him also. Right? This will not be that. And no, if I was to speak to him, that's the question. Oh, so men are just supposed to eat this, because me and Tate are not the same. I'm not going to make the arguments he made. Right? So you could put whatever joke or goofball you want in front of me. That's a different conversation. And a lot of us in the Black Manosphere. And you even acknowledge that Tate ain't really part of the Black Manosphere. So why bring up the fact that he got his head taken off in that debate then? What, you think we're going to get our head taken off? Because the glaring and biggest blind spot, or the part y'all really ignore, is the part we could kill your whole argument with that. Convince the boys. Beginning, end. Convince the boys. Because you could say all you want, FD. All it's going to take is when your son start dating and black girls, if he's around them, start sounding how they do often. That's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to take. But, very importantly, you acknowledge you're not working class. You're actually doing pretty well. You and your wife, y'all have a nice family, right? And so what is also happening that you didn't mention is that your average man is essentially getting priced out of having these type of relationships in the first place. And the women on the back end of that are now demeaning and insulting your average and working class black man and man in general, because they want this lifestyle. You spoke about black women in luxury. You spoke about how they went after Kim from Fort Harriet when she spoke about it, and she didn't even go as hard as she could have went. In other words, and I've said this too before, your average working class black man doesn't necessarily have contempt for black women. He doesn't. He does. People are going to have a problem with Mr. Z saying this. I'm going to say it anyway. He doesn't even necessarily have a problem with your overweight working class black woman. He just don't want her to speak to him and act like she's better than him. And what you and Kim from Fort Harriet and Nappy Headed Jojoba and T Noir and Julesy, because Julesy even spoke about it when she spoke about these women, these young women dating these older white men, and to be careful. Look at her comment section. Yeah, some of the sisters agree with her, but look at the rest of them. Y'all are refusing to acknowledge what neoliberalism, and you mentioned it in your comment. You ain't go too far in it. Actually, you didn't go far in it at all. Y'all refuse to acknowledge what it's done to how black women think and how they speak about black men. Right? Y'all refuse to acknowledge what that's done to the black community, black women's understanding of black men and their position in this society, and the contempt they have for working class black men. Not black men's contempt for your average working class black woman, your average looking black woman. If If he was able to, would he like to have a supermodel? Probably. But does he hate and have contempt for your average working class black woman? No. If offered a good enough deal, would he marry her? Probably. Acknowledge it, FD. Acknowledge it's really their contempt. That's why I brought up what I brought up a couple videos ago about what the demographers and sociologists that are women said about the whole dating scene. The online dating scene is a bunch of women chasing after the top 20% white dude, including women of color. That includes black women. And what they also said is they don't really see the same thing for men, including men of color, specifically black men. In other words, black men are not chasing after white women primarily as a sign of showing a trophy that they've arrived, that they're real men because they have a white woman. At least from online dating statistics. But women of color, including black women, are rating white men and responding to white men quick, fast, in a hurry before they even respond to men of their own race, because of the way they see masculinity and the way they see their femininity. You trickle that down to black men's everyday interactions with black women, and do you not see the problem? We're not only talking about intimacy. Do you not see the problem? Maybe why that bank teller talks to you the way she do? That black woman bank teller? Or the black young lady at the fast food window? That's why I said convince the boys and the men, because the boys and the young men see this too. You have black men who are married to black women in this space and who only love on black women. They wouldn't be caught dead with a white woman or Latina. And their sons are saying, yeah, I'm not doing it. Go ahead, FD, explain that. Because it's not like he was talking crazy about black women in the presence of his sons. FD, you think that can't happen to you? You have 2 black boys. Like I told you, it's only gonna, if your wife is as well-spoken and as intelligent as you, she could try to explain it away to them as much as she want. Y'all gotta stop acting. Didn't Gabrielle Union say she gonna raise those boys to love black women? How is that looking right now? Oops. Didn't Gabrielle Union say that? And Gabrielle Union is gorgeous. Didn't she say that? How is that going? Y'all better stop acting, man. First, these boys have minds of their own, yes. But they have real experiences. Did we not watch grown 30, 40-something, 50-something-year-old women rip or attempt to rip Bronny James apart because of who he brought to prom? A 17, 18-year-old? A 17, 18-year-old world-famous father brings a white young lady to the prom, and you got women in their late 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s going at this young man? And ain't nobody really have nothing to say about that? You acknowledged it, FD, but let's say it one more time. Let's say it loud and on a blowhorn. The way the black community in society allows black women to get away with casual, in-your-face sexism towards straight black men specifically is atrocious. And then these same women insult black men for not dating them. These same women oftentimes are making videos crying in their parents' car, crying in their car, crying at or complaining at the kitchen sink about how black men aren't trying to date them. Black men walk around them like they got the cooties, like black women have the cooties. Didn't these same black women tell us they could go get them a white man? Am I mistaken? Am I missing something, y'all? Do you not, FD? I'm gonna continue to ask you this over and over again. Do you not see what we see? You see what we see. You definitely see it now after you've done your research. The left is going to continue to shed men, specifically black men, because you do not have an answer for this. You don't. You do not have an answer for our society putting the thumbs on the scale for women, for black women specifically, and telling men to eat it. You don't have the answers for at least 3 generations now, at least, of turning a blind eye to black women's sexism and anti-blackness, specifically towards straight black men. We spent too long color purpling. What's love got to do with it? Right? What I said, color purple already. Thin line between all these movies. Thin line between love and hate, and black women kind of excusing the sister trying to kill Martin in the movie, because you don't play with people's emotions. You don't know how they're going to respond. Right? Waiting to excel in it. You acknowledge some of this. Oh, by the way, FD used a couple of my phraseology, y'all. He answered, straight up answered Mr. Z in some of his commentary. So I'm flattered. But not really. Because once again, until we have a real conversation, and maybe I'll check to see if T Noah's video came out. I didn't see anything recent. Maybe she got another channel where you spoke to her. I'll go look. I'm left leaning. And I've been saying it. For those I have subscribers who's been riding with me before I even had a channel. They'll tell you I've been saying it. The left is going to shed men, including black men, because we continue to pretend like what these women are saying is just, it's not that serious. We're polling men and women, and what you're finding is the men do want to be married. It's the women that's saying, yeah, I'll be married if these men are like the top 20%. Right? You had women making fun of men for acknowledging their loneliness just a week ago, just a week or two ago. Did you not see that, FD? Meanwhile, all over the place are sociologists speaking about what COVID did to women in the workforce, women's loneliness. You got women making video after video, all type of women, not just black women, white women, Latinas, obviously black women, even a couple of Asian women speaking about their loneliness, speaking about men not approaching. Look how good I look. And some of these women are attractive. Normal looking women, your standard issue, okay looking white women, Latina women, black women, all the way to very attractive women, acknowledging their loneliness. And because men actually not just say it in video, but actually report this, women, black women specifically, all over the internet laughing, joking. Because once again, women always reserve the right to say, we just want you to see how it feels. You hit first, we're only hitting back. Women never hit first, ever, ever. Women never hit first. They never initiate negativity first. They never insult first. They never, ever, ever, ever hit first. Never degrade first. Never use homophobic language first. Never. And if women do, black women are the one exception. They don't. And that's always the stance at which they approach every subject regarding black men. We're only responding to, we're only reacting to. You said this first. You did this first, even if it's not true. Even if both of those things happened at the same time. Even if she hit first. You imagine a straight black man walking around insulting black women, or black men as a whole, insulting black women for being LGBTQ. And the polling data shows us, and the data shows us, that black women are actually the most same-sex loving group of people in America per capita. You imagine if black men made that a talking point and went after black women for that? I've known those numbers for years. I've been saying those numbers for years, and I still don't go after black women for that. And most black men don't. Black women are the most same-sex loving group of people, and they engage in some of the bi activity more than any group of people in America, at least reported. We've been knowing those numbers for years. We still don't make it a talking point, really. And you have black women that they don't really have no data on this. They never looked it up. They never researched it. They don't care to. Walking around everywhere talking about black men being on the DL. And no, I'm not stuck in the 90s. They're still saying it. As you played from Lexus Exodus. By the way, Lexus Exodus supposedly has a fully black son, FD. She has a black son, and she's talking like that about black men with a fully black son. You could have just imagined if she didn't have a black son. Just imagine how she would sound. So that's what black men are dealing with. That's why I say convince the black boys, the young black men. Once again, y'all, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? That's why I say the things I say. Because no one really has an answer for this on the left. And the right, once again, don't like black men, but they'll insinuate and imply, look at what the left got for you over here. A bunch of sexist, egomaniac black women and other women that the left is going to tell you they're on the right side of history and you're on the wrong side, so you need to get down with their program. The right will play that game. They don't like black men over there. They're racist as hell, but they will play the game of, yeah, we might be racist, but look what the left is telling you to get down with. And that's before they even get into the trans conversation and the LGBTQ conversation. The right doesn't even have to go that far. They'll just point you to the first black woman that's telling you that you're a misogynist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic pig. Because you say you want to date a natural born girl to woman. So that's the environment we're in. And you have two boys, FD. Two boys. So let's continue. FD is not a dumb brother, like I said. The video was nicely edited. He brought in some other brothers. I actually almost forgot to mention this. He brought in a brother that spoke about women's proxy violence. Very important. Now, they touched on it for only like 0.5 seconds, but he spoke about black women's, or at least mentioned, I should say, black women's proxy violence. Or women's proxy violence. And a lot of black women, that's really the issue. When they speak about provider protector, the protector part, what they really mean is be my guard dog, be my whip, Be my glove so I could punch somebody. That's what they're really asking for, right? That's what they're really asking for. And so the brother was right about proxy violence. And like the other brother said, speaking to white people and they find this type of content like, wow, black women sound like that. I said it before. I said it to you, FD, on a previous video. I'm not talking about a different type of black woman. The same black woman that will go to NYU, that will attend Stanford, that will attend Georgetown, that will attend Yale or Harvard, talking about how sexist and misogynist black men are, how they're going around the black community just backhanding LGBTQ and black women and black children, and we're all out here borderline R. Kelly, Ike Turner, Janet's husband from Four Color Girls. We're all secretly the same black woman that will do that will either drive or catch a bus back home and then turn around and insult black men for not being not being progressive enough, but for not being patriarchal enough. That same exact black woman will go back to the hood and talk about what black men haven't built, how black men aren't industrious enough. That same black woman will chastise black men for essentially not being white hyper-capitalist men, chocolate dipped. That's who you're gonna have to have fun trying to convince young black men and boys to eat that on these college campuses. Wait, scoop, wait a minute, skirt. That's for the young black men and boys going to college and university now. That's for the young men and boys in general trying to attend college and university now. Not only has college and university gotten so dumb, stupid, expensive, but now we're asking these boys and these men to go onto campuses, where the women are going to speak to them like this. So you're paying to be berated and being told that if you don't speak and act in this weird intersectional way, then you're a sexist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic pig. Oh, by the way, FD did say he said from the beginning of the video, he said, let's not even pretend like I'm not an intersectional feminist. I am. And that's how he gets in, that's how he uses this to essentially say these women are using feminism wrong. They're not using black feminism wrong, FD. You yourself acknowledge the problematic rhetoric from Bell Hooks. She wasn't the only one. When are we going to speak about the fact that a lot of what fuels this is resentment at black men? Because black women aren't the trophy of beauty standard in a white supremacist Eurocentric society. And many black women want what? Black men, that's only 6% of the nation, to go what? Lopping heads off? To force white men to make black women the beauty standard just so they could leave for those same white men? Really? If it makes no sense, it's because it makes no sense. If it sounds like it doesn't make any sense, that's because it makes no sense. It just doesn't sound like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Right? So that's going to be a major issue. Like I keep on saying, I'm going to keep on saying this. Have fun attempting to convince the young black boys and black men to sign up for this. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Terenzo Jones, salute, Brother Z. Salute, Terenzo. Salute, good morning. Right? And good morning to everybody in the chat. Good morning. Thank you for being here with me in this early morning, especially those of you in the Midwest and the West Coast. I know it's really early. Thank you. But FD put out a video. It's about 2.5 hours long. It's He acknowledged some of the things we were saying. He spent a nice little chunk speaking of the divestors, right? For those of you that miss me speaking about that, he spent a nice little chunk speaking of the divestors. From what the impression he gave me, and what he essentially said is that he didn't know it was this bad. The only reason he did it is essentially to shut us up. What are these guys talking about? Let me go see. Oh, neo-Nazi town, painted black woman. Yes. Where I vehemently disagree with him is that that's just a small little fringe group online. I vehemently disagree with that. You know? And let me read some of y'all comments. I'm sorry, I haven't been reading the comments out. I needed to get out what I got out earlier. My apologies. But let's start off with Curry Kinde. I want to say that's your name. Currinde. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. Sorry. I am 53 years old. I attended Hampton University for undergrad. I distinctly remember women looking, I'm pretty sure you meant looking at us in our face and saying there's no good black men. I remember hearing that when I was a child. 53 years old. Half a century. Half a century, brother. I'm not trying to date you by saying half a century, but I'm saying, if you've been hearing that since you were a child, that's half a century. We have other brothers in here in their 60s. They've been hearing it their whole life also. Right? That's the space we're in. Spain, man. Would FD say his son's wifing up a woman that's been sexually irresponsible and has multiple oops kids? I know that's what you want to say. Oops kids is the optimal situation for their lives. I think FD understands us in our argument way better than he puts on online. I think FD is who he say he is as a straight brother. I don't think FD is a DL brother by any means or anything like that. I think he's intersectional feminist in rhetoric. I think he's intersectional feminist and maybe ideology to a certain extent, but I don't think FD would be down with that. He may not say anything to his son, but I think he would. But FD knows. He knows. I don't think the brother is exactly who he puts on online. Black man, raised in Chicago or surrounding, with a black wife, and from my understanding now lives in Atlanta or the Atlanta kind of metro area with 2 sons. Yeah, nah. FD knows what this is. Nah, Spain, man. He would not be okay with his sons in that situation, especially coming from the nuclear family that he was able to provide for his sons, and to watch them in that and then know what that's most likely going to end up in. And when I say most likely, I don't mean 51% most likely. I mean like 85, 90% most likely, if I'm being generous. Him knowing what that's most likely going to end up like for his son, yeah, no, he would not. Indigo Flow. If they gave black men that money, the women would be taken care of by default. You know, black women ain't sharing that money. Right? As a matter of fact, when the article came out about how black men kind of not being part of the system is costing the system $50 billion, black women took that to throw in our faces, to insult us with. These people are writing this article saying, yeah, we might want to incorporate black men more. We might want to get over using them as kind of the permanent underclass and kind of the reserve labor pool and housing them in prisons and keeping them poor. We might want to stop doing that. It's costing us $50 billion. Then there's other people in the system that are like, yeah, 50 billion ain't nothing. We could do that. We'll bite that bullet. But what you found for a lot of black women is they use that to hit us upside the head with, to insult us with. Y'all can't get y'all act together. Look, y'all costing the country $50 billion a year. FD want us to do what with women like that? That the left empowered over the past 5 decades. At least 5 decades. What are we supposed to do with women like that? Because the hood sisters oftentimes don't have the vocabulary, don't have the coof, don't have the discipline to not say it. They say it just like how I just said it. But your academics and your intelligent black women, oh, they know how not to say it. And when they do, they know how to be very verbose with it and pretend like their issue with black men isn't that they can't end up with the richest, ballerest black men on the planet. These women want Diddy and Jay-Z. Not like they were giving Jay-Z any type of play before he was rich. But these women wanted Jay-Z or Diddy or Dr. Dre or 50 or your local black doctor, right? Whatever, however many handful of black anesthesiologist men we have out there, black professors. So yeah. Yeah, Indigo Flow again. Not hunting for the content at all. I'm judicious with my mental and emotional energy. Yeah. Make it seem like we were... And he didn't say it, but how is it that we were coming across this content and you weren't, FD? How were we coming across this content and you were not? And you're all over black Twitter and black YouTube and black TikTok and black Instagram. Black YouTube, you found these videos, but you went hunting for them. We didn't have to go hunting for them. We've been hearing black women sound like this in real life for decades. And now they got the internet and they're just on blowhorns, yelling at the top of their lungs about how black men are trash. You realize that's your bar, the floor, excuse me, not the bar, the floor was black men ain't ish. That was your floor, FD. You were saying, oh, this is not your standard black men ain't ish language. That was the floor. We're starting off with black men ain't ish and then escalating to abort black babies, killing black men. Yes, FD played the clip also where black women are just straight up saying we should be able to kill black men when they even look at us the wrong way. And you got black women in his comment section and his live chat trying to make an equivalency to that. You have no black men talking about murdering black women just for looking at them wrong. In the Black Manosphere, at least that I frequent, even on the conservative side, you don't have black men saying that. You don't have black men talking about, well, it wouldn't be abort black daughters. It'd be like pushing black women down the stairs if she tell you she's pregnant with your kid and it's a girl. Punching her in the stomach or some type of insanity. You don't have black men saying that. So this is not a one-to-one. Oh, Dr. Thunder. Shout out to Dr. Thunder. Academics are willfully ignorant of the divester rhetoric and prevalence. They really are. It's permeated so much of the culture. It's so ingrained that it's every day. It's like breathing. On a side note, I was speaking to my lady, one of her cousins who's in college right now, and I'm not going to say what school she goes to, but it's somewhere in the Northeast. And this young girl, she was what, 22, 21? And she was saying that she got kicked out of her friend group because she was too pro-black. In a black friend group. The black girls. The black girls talking about sugar babying and swirling and divesting. And the young lady, her parents been married for decades. Happy marriage. And she was telling me and my lady about that. She got kicked out of her friend group because she's too pro-black. And by the way, this sister ain't a hotep. And not being a hotep, she got kicked out of her friend group. And she said, and not just in her friend group, all over her school are women, girls and women in general, speaking about sugar babying, and the black women specifically speaking about swirling and divesting. And she spoke to me about that unprompted, by the way. We were just talking about dating and how the college scene is and online dating, and she told me that unprompted. Black Uru already told y'all his daughter's friends were out here on some sugar baby stuff. What y'all think? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Mr. Z know what he's talking about. And as Julesy said, sugar babying with who? Who got money in this society like that? So if you sugar babying as a black young woman, 21, 22, 23 years old, 19 years old, who you sugar babying with? Middle-aged and old white men probably? Then because you think brothers don't know, you're supposed to come back in the black community and talk about how loyal you are and how sexist we are and how misogynistic we are. By the way, black women been doing that before sugar baby was a term. Doing something strange for some change with white men. Didn't we even hear that the term honky comes from white men pulling up and honking their horn for black women? That might be an urban legend and not true, but haven't we heard that? FD, like I said, convinced the boys and the men that they're supposed to eat this. Their sisters are out here sugar babying, swirling, divesting, talking crazy about black men online and in person. And you're telling the black young men to eat that? Save those women from themselves, even though they have nothing but contempt and a rancor for you. They despise you because you're not an upper middle class or rich white man. And because you can't or won't make her an upper middle class or rich black woman, or better yet, white women painted black. Because it really is about being Karen at the end of the day. Being Miss Ann at the end of the day. Mr. Z has been telling y'all that for years. The hood sisters want to be some type of bougie ghetto for those of you that don't get it. And then the more affluent or more solid middle class sisters just want to be Karen. Full stop. They want to use Karen-like powers. They want that social power. I will continue to scream that from the mountaintop. Remember who brought it to you first. Right? That's the game. And even your black female academics, that's been the game. They just know how to articulate it better. They know how to be more coy. Indigo Flow, use some of that hashtag black girl magic and get it yourself. You don't need us. Remember? Pick a lane. No, but they want all the lanes. They want to say they don't need you while they live off of a dude. It's your standard, it's like your standard issue white feminist who's a stay-at-home mom living and rising off of her husband's income or business while she goes and do white feminist things, right? While she goes lectures or occasionally speak to women about how you don't need this man and how you should leave your husband and whatnot. But she's living off of her husband. Black women are essentially trying to do that. To the left, Beyonce. You're married to Jay-Z. And when he did cheat publicly, you didn't go nowhere. And quite frankly, if he do again and it's private, you're probably still not going to go nowhere. Because who you going to end up with? I don't see Beyonce with a white dude. So that's an X. I don't see her with one of them lame-ass Middle Eastern dudes either. So who's she going to end up with? Diddy? Dre? She can't be with Marcus Houston. He got him a young tenderoni right now that he's married to. And he don't got nearly as much money as her. Right? So once again, FD, convince the boys and the men to eat this. Convince the boys and the men to eat women advocating. That, by the way, that's, you said you're an intersectional feminist. That's right out of the radical feminist playbook. Radical feminists, mainly white, were saying that decades ago. Should we abort sons? They were saying that decades ago. Not 2, 3, and 4 decades ago. In the 70s and 80s, 5 decades ago. They were saying abort sons. Should we have sons? So you fast forward 4 and 5 decades later and black women are talking about abort black sons. And you don't see how that ideology kind of ties into what you say you believe in, kind of, sort of? No, not at all. Not saying you're a radical feminist, but you did call yourself an intersectional feminist. Do you not see the line? The line? No. You know how much feminist rhetoric, and that's why I categorically rejected what you said. They're not misusing black feminist rhetoric. They're using it the way these women really intended it. A lot of these women had issues with black men because they couldn't get or keep the black men they wanted, because they were mad that a couple of these brothers were walking around here with white women. And they said all of this foul stuff and they came up with all of this ideology, and now their daughters and granddaughters just don't have the coot or the discipline to say it in the verbose way that Bell Hooks said it. They just don't want to do it that way. These young women are not misusing it. They're using it the way, for the most part, it was intended. Or at least some part. I'll throw you a bone. Look at how black women infantilize themselves in your comment section. Look at it. You saw your live comments. You were responding. You were reading those live comments. Black woman after black woman essentially saying, well, men did it first. And divestment is only a small little segment. It's not that really. Men did it first. Always some excuse to say the most insane things. Because they really think saying I'm just responding or reacting to this misbehavior is some type of go pass. If you just say you're responding to misbehavior, you get to speak any kind of crazy way. Shout out to Go Professor. Money for the plate. Thank you, Go Professor. Pause on a note. Go Professor is half the reason Mr. Z is in this space, y'all. The first person to tell me to start my own channel. It took me some months, but I eventually did. I told y'all I'm always going to tell y'all when he pop up in the room. I'm always going to tell y'all when he pop up in the room. Shout out to Go Professor. So this is what we're dealing with. And so, coming Charles' old late self, right? Charles, did you see FD Signifier put up the most recent his most recent video? He finally addressed the divestors. He finally specifically spoke about the Black Manosphere. He tried to tie in a couple of brothers that are not part of the Black Manosphere to the Black Manosphere, while acknowledging they're not part of the Black Manosphere, which was a weird, I'm not gonna say it was a weird flex. I guess he just wanted to get certain points out. So he spoke about these particular men in that weird way. But they're not, you know. He essentially agreed with, like, he did the sandwich thing I told y'all he was gonna do. He hit us upside the head. He acknowledged that much of what we say is true. He didn't say my name, but he specifically addressed the multiple talking points that I've made over the past few videos addressing him, right? He addressed it, and then he attempted to hit us upside the head again at the end. Essentially what he said is our talking points, when we look weird as hell, and when we debate a real dude, we crumble. He was talking about Andrew Tate and what's the guy? I forgot his name. Is right. I didn't watch the dude a million times, right? Brother killing he used to be on TYT. It's not a brother. I'm sorry. Dude kill. He used to be on TYT. He's big on Twitch. I forgot his name. God damn. I didn't see the man name a million. I didn't see the dude in all type of things. I forgot this man name. But yeah, Andrew Tate supposedly debated him, and he took Andrew Tate's head off, right? So essentially, if we debate, oh yeah, Charles, he said $20,000 for him to debate one of us in the Black Manosphere, right? Hassan, yes, Hassan, yes. Thank you, Spain Man. Hassan, yes. How did I forget that? I should have just thought about Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. I would have remembered the name. But yeah, Hassan, yeah. Apparently Tate debated Hassan and got his head taken off. And so he thinks that if any one of us debate any one of those type of men, we're going to get our head taken off. When essentially Hassan Piker, yes. So essentially, he thinks that we're just a bunch of, angry middle schoolers mad at the girl that doesn't want us, but adult, right? But in his video, like I've been saying since early morning, he acknowledges the things we're right about. He acknowledges that we were right about BLM. But, of course, he then regresses to, well, the essential, a broken clock is right twice a day type thing. He couldn't just let us have that W. Right? We were right, and not just because a broken clock is right twice a day. No, we were right because we read the memos y'all didn't read. We read the mission statements y'all didn't read. And if y'all did read it, we saw in those mission statements, which you didn't see, the blatant sexism against straight black men. We've all heard the term lying by omission. How about abuse by omission? How about a power flex by omission? How about using your death in your blood to forward an agenda that has nothing to do with you and actually has contempt for you? That's the part you didn't mention, FD. BLM was a black LGBTQ front group riding the wave of black men's death. Black straight men, primarily because, yes, black women sometimes are abused and killed by the police also. But it's pretty much straight black men being murdered by the police, and BLM and the like using the death of straight black men to forward their own agendas. That's what you weren't saying, Mr. FD Signifier. That's what you were not saying. And that's what they are and what they've been. And if they didn't get caught blowing money and spending money on dumb stuff, everybody, till this day, everyone would have been talking about the Black Manosphere like we didn't know what we were talking about. Y'all would have ignored that mission statement. Y'all would have ignored that memo that pretty much said a black man like George Floyd walks into one of our offices, you sideline him. He starts to speak in one of our town halls or lectures or whatever, you play him down, you sideline him. Y'all gotta act like y'all didn't see that memo. We knew from the jump who they are. And there's other women and some black men, mainly LGBTQ, just like BLM. But for many of you intersectional feminists, FD, until we catch them with their hand in the cookie jar, fully red-handed, y'all will continue to cover for them. We got to catch them as like how BLM got caught. Anything short of that, no, they're not. No, they're just acknowledging something that you won't acknowledge. They're just saying, you'll never call a thing a thing. And of course, the black women will always act like black men are just being some homophobic, sexist, transphobic monsters. Until we catch these people exactly like this, red-handed. Right? So yeah, for those of you that missed a lot of the beginning of my what I was saying, and I'm gonna come to a close now soon. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. We got other brothers with shows that are gonna start in a little bit, but yeah, I'm responding to and goddamn, Sergeant Willie Pete beat me to the punch. Shout out to Sergeant Willie Pete, right? He beat me to the punch, and he with a slightly different angle than I would have gone, but or that I did go, better yet. But Sarge made a really good point. What's in it for black men? That's my point too, right? Convince black boys and black men. Oh, it's about to rain. I'm gonna end it a little quick. But yeah, because it's gonna be loud and I am in the car. And Florida rain. Shut up, Charles, in advance. But yeah. Right? What's in it for what is the left offering men, black men specifically, that would cause them to continue to support the left and vote for the left? As Sergeant Willie Pete said, yeah, we know there's racists on the right, but what is the left saying? What is the left offering? Straight black men in particular. We're just supposed to pretend like we don't share a community with black women like this? And what does that mean for black men and boys? When our entire society got their thumb on the scales for these particular sisters? And then tells us that us acknowledging it in itself is sexist? Us speaking about it within itself is sexist and misogynistic? And this is for centuries of sexism? This is payback for centuries of sexism? So black boys and black men are just supposed to eat that. Like I said from the beginning, have fun trying to convince the black boys and black men under the age of 25. You can maybe pull that stunt for millennials and some Gen Xers who are still dating and not married or divorced. You can maybe pull that for them, maybe even some of the boomers. But Gen Z, yeah, right. Once again, FD, you got two black boys, right? Oh, it's starting to rain, y'all. It's gonna get loud, right? You got two black boys, FD. Have fun trying to convince them. You and your wife have fun trying to convince them to not only date and marry a black woman potentially, but to eat or sideline or try to intellectualize and calm themselves down from black women's overt sexism, homophobia directed at straight black men specifically. Right? You saw them dance on Kevin Samuels' grave and you gave them an excuse just now on your video. You saw them dance on Kevin and you said Kevin embarrassed the average at best. I want to actually, this might be my closing statement. Kevin did not embarrass the average at best young lady. She embarrassed herself. She embarrassed herself. You saw how the young lady said, I can't respect a man, I make more money than. You didn't hear her say that, FD? Or did you not watch the video? You didn't hear her contradict herself? I could help a man with his business, but I don't want no man helping me with my business. There's been too many of them. Did you not hear her, FD? FD, he asked her to rate herself. She said a 5 and a 6 with makeup. What's the definition of average again, everyone? Sometimes people get median and average mixed up, but generally speaking, what's the definition of average, everyone? He asked her to rate herself. She said a 5 and a 6 with makeup. That is literally average at best. So because he actually put words to it, black women get to dance on the man's grave in front of the whole world. And it's okay and it's excusable. Alrighty then. Remember, FD, young men saw that. 15, 16, forget guys like me in our mid-30s. Forget us. Don't count us. Some of these young men haven't even seen our videos, but they saw black women dancing on Kevin Samuels' grave, all on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. They saw that. They don't know who Mr. Z is. They don't know the Black Manosphere. They don't know us. But they saw black women dancing on Kevin Samuels' grave. Have fun trying to convince those men to then end up with a black woman. They don't know about me and my little channel. They don't know about the Black Manosphere. Have fun trying to convince the 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds up to 25-year-olds to date and marry a black woman. Have fun. After they saw that. Not only all their life experiences with black girls and black women, but after them seeing that. We have professors in this space that tell you they're teaching classes, and the young black women are sitting next to the young black boys demanding that those young black boys enter the conversation with $100,000. Both of y'all are going to be in student loan debt up to your eyeballs. Y'all are taking the same classes. You might actually have more grants and loans than he does. And somehow, magically, he's supposed to walk in the door with a $100,000 a year job. At the least. FD Signifier, my subscribers know me for saying these black women are going to be on antidepressants in a couple of decades, if they're not already. Do you not see how this is going to be a problem? You don't see how these delusions of grandeur are going to be a problem, if not already, for a lot of these young women? As I said before, this is not only about intimacy and sex and relationship. This is also how these women speak to black men in everyday conversation. How they speak to you at the fast food window. How they speak to you as a bank teller. As a police officer. That's what we're talking about, right? Black women have been raised to have contempt for black men, a contempt that has gone unaddressed in the black community for decades, a contempt that even when it's mainly ever been addressed has been excused, right? And what the Black Manosphere is saying is no more. Is no more. That's what we're saying. Black women, whether in intimate relationships with black men, platonic relationships with black men, have assumed a moral high ground that's allowed them to speak to black men any kind of way, to speak about black men any kind of way, to be in front of non-black people speaking about black men very condescendingly, very insulting, right? And all Kevin did night after night was show you black women's contempt for your average black man, for your working class, specifically black man. He used the high value carrot to let black women speak about what they really think about your regular dude, regular black dude. And it worked. Black women, and I've said this to you before, FD, it didn't matter her education level, it didn't matter her status or station in life, it didn't matter her skin tone, it didn't matter what region of the country she lived in, it didn't matter her weight or size. Not only were they all chasing after the same type of men, they all had contempt for the same type of men. They were chasing after the top 20% of men, and the bottom 80, even if you were at the top of the bottom 80, they considered that settling. Shout out to you, Kevin C. Kevin C, shout out to your astute analysis, Mr. Z. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin C. Black men everywhere saw how KS, Kevin Samuels, and other men are treated in the U.S. society. Stay up, men, stay up. Double exclamation points at the end. Yes. And as I said to you before, FD, most black men in this space want to be with black women. Either black American women or black women from the diaspora that have had black American experiences. Most black men want to be with black women, even in this space. Even the SYSBM brothers, like I said before, they're not talking about going to Europe or East Asia outside of some maybe, air quotes, fun. When they talk about going somewhere to finding a wife, they talk about Africa or somewhere in the Caribbean or Brazil or Colombia, somewhere with some black or black adjacent women. We have thorough debates about who's prettier, who do we find more attractive between Beyonce and Kelly Rowland. Because we're not all colorists chasing after light-skinned women. Even those of us in relationship with light-skinned women don't think it's all about light-skinned black women. And yet when you speak or you listen to black women talk, they speak about black men like we're colorist neo-Nazis. And they're gonna leave us for some Latino or Asian dude or white dude, which, FD, if you know like I know, is comical. To say that black men are colorist, and you're gonna do what? Date Latino dudes? Maybe you don't understand what colorism is over there. You're gonna leave for Asian dudes? South Asian dudes? This is the level of delusion we're talking about. Kevin Samuels actually had a beautiful episode or video of his where he acknowledged a swirler divester, right? I think it's actually, he actually had maybe 2 of them. 2 or 3 videos. So I'm coming to a close, y'all. Once again, like, share, subscribe. FD, you're going to have to convince the black boys and the black men, the young ones, why they should still vote for the left and why they should sign up for being verbally abused, insulted, belittled by black women who claim to just be telling one's truth. All right? Who claim this is constructive criticism. Who claim this is hard facts. You got Paris Milan, and I'm going to make a separate video about this. You have Paris Milan essentially saying what that black therapist, the black female therapist that got fired, that's the only language black men understand, so that's why she spoke to us the way she did. Does that not sound like a white racist woman to you? Oh, I bark at these black kids because that's the only language they understand. They only understand that aggression. Even though, understand how backwards that is. She got fired because black men made us think about it, which means we did not appreciate that aggression. But you say she spoke to us with that aggression in that tone of voice because that's the only language we appreciate. But doesn't us making a big stink about it show that no, that's not? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make too much sense. I'm sorry. My apologies, everyone. What I just said just made too much sense. So FD, those are the women we're speaking about. Those are the women we're speaking about. The Kim from Fort Harriets. The O Stefkos. The Paris Milans. The Chrissies. You play Lexus Exodus, but you ain't play Mahogany Pink. And final statement, y'all. The brother low-key winning on Green Gorilla and Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. The people that he played like this, including the women, he muffled their voices and whatnot. But we know a Dr. T. Hassan Johnson video when we see one. And he made them seem like bitter old Negroes. FD, you think you could, and you know, I don't want to be the person in the background, you know, who can't fight, but you cheering on the fighter to fight another person, right? So I'm gonna be careful with my language, but I found that very insulting. I'm not gonna speak for Dr. T. Hassan Johnson or Dr. Green Gorilla. Once again, I'm not gonna be that that guy that gets the main dude in the group, you know, messed up because he's talking crazy. I'll just say I didn't appreciate that. Because those are our intellectuals. And they do serve a purpose here. And they're not just angry, bitter men. You yourself semi-acknowledge some of your relationships with women outside of your wife. And how that can be. And that's all we're saying. We're calling out the hypocrisy. You called out the hypocrisy a little bit yourself in that video. You played it down a lot outside of the divestment segment, but you acknowledged a little bit of it yourself. And you kind of acknowledged the fact that your class position has allowed you to kind of get away from that. So what about all of the working class black men? What are they supposed to do? See where SYSBM comes from? What are working class black men supposed to do, FD? You see why I told you, try to convince the young black boys and men? Black men and boys that make some $65,000 a year or less, $60,000, 50, 55, 40, 35. What are they supposed to do, FD? Working class black men. They're supposed to take this from Paris Milan and Chrissy and Cynthia G calling them Dusties all day, every day. The average black woman they're running into calling them Dusties for making $45,000 a year, $50,000 a year. They're supposed to eat that, huh? What are black working class men supposed to do? Shout out to the left and the Democratic Party. Decades of putting your thumb on the scale for women, and now look at you, what you produced. Delusional, infantilized women who speak about their brothers and their uncles and their fathers like they ain't ish. While for the most part, men still earn more than women. Yes, even in the black community. Now women have more degrees, and the income gap isn't as big between men and women in the black community, but men still earn more than black women. And in that environment, look how they speak. So if one day women earn more than men in the black community, imagine what they're going to be saying. Because if they sound like this now, what are they going to sound like in a decade or two? What are they going to sound like in a decade or two when that Goldman Sachs money really hits and we can see the fruits from that? You kept your thumb on the scales for women for decades, and look at them already. You know what another 3, 4, 5 decades of this will produce? These women aren't looking for equality. They're not looking for egalitarian. There's men in this space that'll be down for egalitarian situation. But they know that the women won't actually be with it. They're egalitarian until ish hits the fan. They're egalitarian until they're mad. And then you ain't ish, and she shouldn't be paying 50-50 anyway. FD, you know that. On a community level and on an individual level, you know what we're saying is true. Juicy knows it. Nappy-headed Jojoba knows it. T Noir knows it. Kim from Fort Harriet knows it. Right? Oh, Stefco knows it. Fab Socialism knows it. Fab Socialism, like I said in a previous video, said it herself. She said it herself. What's up with all these radical black women with white men? Fab Socialism, those black women don't actually mean half the stuff they're saying. It's just the exercise in rhetoric. As I said before, they're essentially the white feminists who lives off of their white husband while railing against men. It's just a black woman doing it now. That was her goal in the first place. To be in a privileged position while exercising whatever rhetoric she wants, right? Spewing whatever she wants, but being well taken care of by some upper middle class or rich white dude, or maybe even working class white dude. Possibly working class white dude. So I'll pause right here, y'all. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. Thank you for all the people that super chatted me. Thank you for my comment section. Thank you for spending this time with me this morning. Shout out to all of y'all. You know, this is about a 2-hour live stream of just me going off. And still now, I don't dislike FD. I was subscribed to him before he started speaking about these things. I think he has interesting perspectives. As he said, a lot of his subscribers overlap with our subscribers, right? But FD, you saw your live chat. You saw them sisters ducking, dodging, weaving any type of accountability. They tied themselves into pretzels. You saw them. What about Tommy? Black men said this. Black men said this first. You, FD, you can't turn that into a wife. Shout out to you and your lovely wife. Y'all married, y'all been married, you got 2 lovely boys. Shout out to y'all. I could tell you a proud dad. But you yourself acknowledge you're not in the working class. The women in your comment section, that's what us working class brothers got to deal with in the dating scene. And even some of us that's above working class, we still got to deal with women we make more than. She wants to live off of us while belittling us, while talking crap about black men. FD, you better hope your sons don't run into this. I think you actually, I genuinely think for the most part, you came from a genuine place. You said some slick and shady and shisty stuff, but for the most part, I think you came from a genuine place. I do. I know some of my subscribers will disagree, but I do. You have to acknowledge this is the environment. And so as both of us age, hopefully I'm still alive and hopefully you're still alive, I'll point out to you in the next 5 years, 10 years, as you see more and more black women never be married. I didn't say like our parents' generation that got married and got divorced, or they got married later on, maybe in their 30s or 40s for their first marriage. No, I'm saying never get married, never have children. I'll point out to you, remember when we had this conversation back in 2022? As our society deteriorates with this kind of thing, and it's not just the end of nuclear family and we're going to build something newer and brighter. No. In many ways, this is the end of family. If we don't get it together. This newfangled, weird type of relationship that we're trying to bring about, as you can see, the vast majority of straight men ain't with it. Not just black men. The vast majority of straight men are not with it. Because for what? What do they gain? What do they gain? Most of them aren't going to be the breeder bee. Shout out to Nameless. They're going to be the worker bee, not the breeder bee. They won't even be lucky enough to get some side cooch, some side vagina. So what do they gain for this new kind of thing where the society's slowly walking into? Where maybe 15, 20%, maybe 25% of men are having just about all the fun. The rest of men get in where you fit in. And most of you will be lucky to get anything. So I'll pause right there. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for riding with me this whole time. You know, once again, like, share, subscribe. And FD, you know, thanks for addressing what you addressed, but there was so much more. I get it. You don't want to have a 10-hour-long video, right? This dude said $20,000 for a debate. $20,000 for a debate. Because what, you think you Hassan Piker now? No, FD. Stop it. Stop it, bro. All right, y'all. Thanks. Good morning. Have a good rest of y'all day. Go check out the other black men in the Black Manosphere, right? Mr. Z out. Love, peace, brothers. Oh, and I'll pause right there. How did I forget? Shout out to Toyo.